Right, and I'm pleased to say that just like that, we are joined Aaron, who is from LS11. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All good, thank you. So a bit of an indifferent start, I suppose, for Leeds this season. I mean, I think it's fair to say our start has been much worse. But obviously you played United, and obviously you got thrashed there. So I know it's United, and obviously you're not the biggest fans of United, but at least you can look back at it and think, well, it's Man United. At least it's not Brighton at home, which is our example. And then Everton as well. They're another side. They were hit and miss last season, but I think they'll do well this season. So 1 point from them 2 games isn't really all that bad. How have you felt your start's been?
Yeah, I think similar to you, really, what you've just said there. I think, the start itself, Manchester United away, my heart said I wanted to take something, but my head says no. You're dreaming against these big boys, aren't you? Everton at home, I think if we'd have still been playing for an extra 10 minutes, I think we'd have probably got the 3 points there. I think it's a fair point. I think on reflection, it was a fair point. And then roll on to you guys on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess you boys will be pinpointing that for your first 3 points then, really. Obviously, let's not talk too much about last season, but it's fair to say you outclassed us at Turf Moor. I think my argument would be that we were already safe. I know you were already, you were safe probably by about bloody September, to be honest. But I think looking back on that game for me, I think Bielsa's not going to let you step off. You have to be 110% for 95 minutes every single game of the season, safe, already won the league or whatever. Where I think we always the season was so difficult, and the fact that we finally got over that, I think we clearly took us foot off the gas. But I'm not taking anything away. I think you were fantastic that day. I work in Leeds, and I was actually on shift at the time. Thankfully, we still work from home. Else I'd have got quite a bit of stick. But we use that. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. We use Slack to chat to everybody at work, and there was some stick coming in on there. But I think you were class last season. But sort of how are you looking at this game then? Is it a chance for 3 points, or is it potential? Obviously, because it's going to be a tough game for you. I think Burnley's always been described as this tough place to go, and maybe it's a bit of a myth these days, not as much as it used to be. But what sort of game are you expecting?
I'm expecting a Leeds win. I'll be honest with you. I'll get straight into it. I think Leeds need to win this game. A lot of Leeds fans will be expecting 3 points. I think it'll be a tough game. I think Burnley, they're always well organised out the Burnley, that old school 4-4-2 with Dyche in charge, it's going to be a good game. I think there'll be goals. I've got a funny feeling Chris Wood, I don't know if he injured Chris Wood. He'll probably score a brace against us. Because I think he's up for it, isn't it, Chris Wood, and Charlie Taylor. So it's going to be a tough game, a really tough game for us, but I'm expecting 3 points from Leeds. But it will be tough. I remember back to the game at Ellen Road with you guys last season, and I think that was one of the toughest games that we played against. Like a well-oiled machine, Burnley, really well drilled, defensively strong as well, and they made it really hard for us to play football. I know the pitch didn't help that day, but it was a really difficult game. So I'm expecting a really physical and challenging game.
Yeah, I think if you look back at last season's games, I won't go too much into the disallowed goal at Ellen Road. But if we look at last season's games, I think it's fair to say if a game's going to be like any of them last season, it is going to be the one at Ellen Road. We are going to try and stifle you. We're going to try and keep Bamford quiet. Again, but similar position. He'd love to score against us, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, like you say, it's good to see that people do see us as like a well-oiled machine and stuff still, because I sometimes think that might be not as evident as it should be, especially last season and this season. So maybe it's a reputation, I'm not sure. But I want to touch on Chris Wood and Charlie Taylor, actually, then, because you've mentioned them. And if Chris Wood scores a brace and you still win, I will be very, very surprised. But what are your... I think it's fair to say you don't like Charlie Taylor, but I think when you look at the way that he left, I can kind of understand it. But Chris Wood as well, he got a bit of stick when he left as well. But what are your thoughts on the two? And then if you can tell me more of the fans' general thoughts on the two.
I think, Charlie Taylor, he was this up-and-coming youngster, and it's a shame, really, that he moved on. But, he wanted to go play Premier League football, didn't he, Charlie Taylor? And he was sold, this package with Burnley. It's the same with Bailey Peacock-Farrell. I know that he's not with you guys. I think he's gone on loan, hasn't he? Yeah, he's gone on loan to Sheffield Wednesday, hasn't he, this season? But again, it was that lure of, Leeds being a mid-table championship side and, come and play for Burnley in the Premier League. That's what it was about. And Chris Wood, it was a shame, really, because he got going under Gary Monk. And he hit the fort. He's running away with it. He was scoring 20, 25 plus goals a season one year, and obviously the lure of the Premier League took him there. So I think Leeds fans, he'll probably get a little bit of stick. They'll both get a bit of stick on Sunday for it, and I'm going, which I can't wait for, by the way. It's going to be. It'll be interesting to see how the fans react to it. It'll be interesting to see how Chris Wood and Taylor react to him as well, to the fans.
Yeah. Well, those who listen and watch the podcast regularly know that my co-host Simon, he actually cuts their hair. He's an hairdresser, so he actually cuts Chris Wood's and Charlie Taylor's hair, and he'll tell you they've got nothing but nice things to say about Leeds. He says more so Charlie Taylor, which he's surprised about, than Woody. He says Charlie just like always say like if he goes around to his house when Leeds are playing, he's watching it. He's always like, oh, fans, he's got nothing but nice things to say about him. And the same with Woody as well. Like I've never personally met Charlie, but I've met Woody a few times, and he's just such a lovely guy. And again, he's got nothing but nice things to say about pretty much any of his former clubs, really. But it's interesting because obviously you mentioned Monk, and Chris Wood did get going that season, didn't he? But then Monk left at the end, and it was all a little bit up in the air. And then, to be fair, Paul Eckenbottom or Sean Dyche, you've got to pick Sean Dyche, aren't you? Obviously, in the end, you boys managed to get up. But talk to me about your season then, because there's been a lot of pundits, not so far, I mean, sort of like the things what you're expecting and stuff and the goals that you want to achieve. There's been a lot of pundits sort of like saying, not necessarily second season syndrome in the fact that you're going to do a Huddersfield or a Sheffield United and go down, but probably second season syndrome in the fact that you're probably not going to be doing as well this season. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, I think, the majority of Leeds fans at the start of the season, I think we're going to get top six. But for me, and I've always said this, the Premier League is the biggest league in the world, and it's the one which has the biggest revenue. So the main thing for me as a Leeds fan is get to 40 points, a little bit similar to you guys, and then look up from there. So for me, Premier League safety is especially in this kind of the midterm of being in the Premier League, is get to 40, get safe, and then you can build from there. So I'm happy for another mid-table finish this season at Leeds, and I think they will get there. I don't think the second season syndrome will affect Leeds this year. I think these lads have played under Bielsa for 3-4 years now, and they know the demands, what he expects, and they know the roles within the team as well. So I can't see Leeds struggling with the second season syndrome. Mid-table, anywhere from 17th to 8th, I'm happy with. What about yourselves?
Yeah, well, similar really. I think you can probably look a little bit higher than us, but it's refreshing to hear you say like you want to get to 40 points first, because you speak to a lot of Leeds fans, and like you say, they do say top six, or maybe even push for Champions League, and it's just not achievable. Let's be honest.
No,
maybe in 10 years with continued investment, but even look at Villa; they're probably spending nearly double what you are. I don't have the stats in front of me, but even they're not going to, in my opinion, crash into the top six. It's definitely not the top four.
No.
So it's refreshing to see that. But yeah, we're similar. Get to 40 points. Might take us a little bit longer to get there. We might not even get there. Get to 40 points and then look up from there. I think we always look back at obviously the Europa League season on this podcast when we finished 7th. And the main thing about that was we won the first game of the season, and then we just kicked on from there. Whereas this season, and pretty much every season since, we've got off to such a poor start that we're then just playing catch up. And it's looking like it's going to be this again. There's going to be, if we get beat 2-0 at the weekend, there's nobody's going to look at that and think, oh, that's a weird result. That it could happen. And then after that, we've got some more tough games coming up. So it could be like last season, we didn't win his first game until October. And it could be something similar again here. So fingers crossed we can get out of that. We really needed to beat Brighton on the opening day. But I felt silly saying that. We hadn't even played a game. And I was saying, this game is big. We need a win. Yeah. We hadn't even kicked a ball. But now we're in this position and I'm kind of being like, proven right about it. But I kind of felt like with Leeds last season, obviously for all the quality that you had and for all the sort of like tenaciousness that you had, like always pressing and things like that, I always felt like the players felt like they had something to prove as well at the same time. Like we do deserve to be in this league, not as your club, but as individuals and players. The likes of Ayling and Bamford, who got a lot of stick. A few years previous. Do you think that hunger will still be there this season? The hunger of to prove. I know that you'll probably go down the Bielsa and say Bielsa won't really let it slip, but it's a mental thing, isn't it? When you're back in the league and you're getting stick like Bamford did to then want to go on and prove yourself. Do you think that hunger will still be there?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as I say, you've just kind of touched on it there. I think the Bielsa won't let that drop. But I think, from Liam Cooper as well, you got a lot of stick from the fans at the weekend. That drive and that determination from the players is there. They've achieved so much in such a short space of time. They want to keep going and keep kicking on really onto the next level. And, I think the determination, the drive is still there. And I think obviously with fans being back, it makes such a difference. Like the atmosphere at Ellen Road on Saturday was absolutely phenomenal. And I think the new players in the squad, the likes of Rafinha, Rodrigo, etc. Those players will really feed off that and really kind of kick on as the Premier League season keeps going.
Yeah, so what did you make of the atmosphere at Ellen Road on Saturday? Then you touched on it briefly there, but yeah, it's
honestly,
like Anfield's got a reputation, but in my opinion, Anfield's a myth. Ellen Road, it's had its moments where it cannot be a nice place to go for either sets of fans. I remember, obviously, it's different when you're not doing well. But I remember in the years when you're struggling in the Championship and struggling in the Premier League, it could work in an away team's favour because obviously the fans can turn very quickly.
Yeah.
But I think in recent years, now you're doing well again, and you're all appreciative of the effort that the lads give and that Bielsa makes people give. It's a very good place to go for a home fan, I think.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, it was brilliant. The atmosphere, and I think the fitness levels as well. Just to touch on that with Everton, Leeds really didn't get going until about the 60th minute against Everton, and I think if Leeds have had an extra 10 minutes at the weekend, I think would have probably won the game. So that's just kind of touching on the fitness levels. But in terms of Ellen Road itself, the atmosphere was phenomenal. It was honestly, it was off the scale, and I think Leeds, the players themselves and Bielsa, they'll really feed off that. And I think it really intimidated Everton towards the back end of the game as well. So, yeah, it's a really special place to be, and, it's decent.
I want to go back to what you just said there. You said they didn't get going until the 60th minute. We've been the opposite this season. We're quite known for our fitness levels as well. Like there's a running joke amongst Burnley fans like you might be fit, but you're not dash fit, and it's probably a similar sort of thing to Bielsa. You might be fit, but you're not going to run for 95 minutes through brick walls, for example. It's the same with Sean Dyche. How were your fitness levels looking then this season? Are they looking decent? Because we've been going playing really well for the first half or the first 60 minutes, and then dropping off a little bit, and that, I'll be honest, does worry me against Leeds. If we drop off in the 60th minute and it's 0-0 or 1-0 to us, or 1-1, for example, you could capitalise on that point. So what have your fitness levels been like this season then?
It's an interesting one because obviously this season, the likes of Calvin Phillips, they've only been in for pre-season for about 2 weeks. Yeah. So the fitness levels aren't there yet. With Phillips in particular, he didn't play against Manchester United because Bielsa didn't think he was fit enough. So I do think the fitness levels aren't there yet. And I know after this game, I think we've got an international break as well, haven't we?
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
After this,
I don't know if it's after this. Is it after this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's after after this game, and then you think, you just want to keep that going, don't you? You just started, so I don't think his fitness levels are there just yet. I think that it's a work in progress with that. And I think with Euros and obviously with the longer, shorter season last season, obviously COVID as well. It's had such a there's a lot of factors in place, isn't there, really, for fitness levels and things.
Yeah, talk to me about Patrick Bamford then, because I know, as I've mentioned earlier, he did get a lot of stick. And even though he scored a lot of goals last season, I kind of feel if you had somebody there like Chris Wood, a natural finisher, you'd have done even better. Obviously, Burnley fans gave Bamford quite a lot of stick for the comments he made when he left. It's not necessarily because he left us; it's just the comments that he made when he left. And then he went back to Middlesbrough, and honestly, it was so funny. He said a quote about how he got so upset he used to finish training and go and cry in his car. And he once came on as a substitute against Middlesbrough, and honestly, 4,000 Burnley fans is going, Patrick Bamford, he cries in his car. Honestly, one of the funniest moments on a football pitch. But talk about him then, because he's a bit of an easy for me to say, a bit of an anomaly, because he gets the goals, but I still feel he could be better. And if Leeds had a natural goal scorer, I do think Leeds would be better.
Yeah, I think what I like about Patrick Bamford is the way he works off the ball. Honestly, I watched him quite a lot on Saturday, and honestly, this guy, he didn't stop running. Honestly, this guy, if he went to the Paris Olympics in 2024, he would podium and get a medal because he didn't stop running. Same with Phillips, well, just literally all over the park. I like his work off the ball. He'll defend when he needs to, and he'll intercept play. The assist which he got at the weekend as well, he could have easily taken that himself, but he pops it off to Click for the equaliser. And that's what Bamford is. He's a true workhorse. Yeah, his finishing isn't great, and you're expecting 20 plus goals a season. But Leeds fans have got to remember we got 2 goals struck off last year from VAR. So he could have been on 9. I think he was 19. I think he got 17 last year. He should have had 19 if they'd have been this year. He'd have got him. So yeah, I think he's a workhorse. I like him. I think he's a really good, decent player. He signed a 5-year contract with Leeds recently, so he's clearly within the minds, not just within Bielsa, but within the club hierarchy, high up the hierarchy as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. As soon as you said how much he ran, I remembered seeing some stats on Monday Night Football. Obviously, at the time of recording this, we're doing this on Tuesday last night, and Patrick Bamford ran the most of anybody in the Premier League. This weekend. So, but I've noticed that his work off the ball under Bielsa has come on loads, and I think that's probably why he's in your side. I think.
Yeah, and he looks fitter as well. Obviously, he didn't go to the Euros. I think he's been working on his fitness over the summer. He's kept in shape. So, yeah, I think, for me, Bamford, I think he's a decent striker. And the work off the ball, as I said, is just brilliant. It's phenomenal what he can do. And hopefully he'll beat the tally of 17 goals. And hopefully he'll get off the mark. He was unlucky not to score at the weekend, to be fair. I'm hoping that he'll get off the mark against you guys at Turf Moor.
Fingers crossed they don't. One of the things that always worries me about playing Leeds is Patrick Bamford is better than this. Obviously, I interviewed him before because I used to do some work for a radio station with Darren. Obviously, Darren's another part of LS11. And I've interviewed, and he comes across as a really nice guy. So it's not something I ever imagined that he'd do. He's not an Adebayor, but I always imagined after the way that he left Burnley and how he didn't get on with Dash, I thought if he ever scores a screamer, he could easily just run up to Dash and knee slide in front of him, and then it'd be all over. Leeds fans would be loving it, and I'd never get away from it. So it always worries me. But obviously, he scored the penalty against Ellen Road last season and just did a kind of like a muted celebration. But it might be different if he scores one from open play.
Yeah.
But talk to me about your transfer business then, because you've made a few signings. A few more than us. We've only brought in the 2. Obviously, Jack Harrison as well. What are your thoughts on your transfer business then? Because I was looking at it here, and I honestly thought it'd be longer than that. I honestly thought the list would be longer than that. So you've got Harrison, Clarkson. Is that how you're pronouncing that? And Boggles again. Oh, that's end of a loan. So you've only been brought in 3 players then, because there's a Blackman player here. I'm not even going to mention him, but you've only brought in 3 players then, and you kind of think Leeds make a lot of signings, through Radrazani. They've got quite a decent chairman, but evidently not. Are you boys happy with the transfer business? It's only a few, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, I'm quite happy. A lot of Leeds fans will probably disagree and go, we need to be signing more. I think we will do a little bit more business. Obviously, Pervader's gone out down the road to you guys. He's gone out on loan this season, which I think he needed. We've signed a couple of under 23 players. We signed Lewis Bates from Chelsea for a couple of £1 million. So what the thing is with Leeds and their transfer policy is brilliant, and I think it makes sense to me, is that the looking for talent, developing them, and then giving them a pathway into the first team. So a lot of the business at Leeds this year has been focusing on the under 23s, and I think tonight against Crewe we'll probably see a couple of these under 23s play, because obviously when you look at the midfield where you've got Click and Dallas, they're 30 plus, these guys, they're not going to play forever. So there's a natural progression for the likes of Lewis Bate, who can maybe kind of slip into that first team radar. But on the whole, we've needed a left back, and we've got one. Firpo from Barcelona. I think he's got a little bit more. He'll need to get up to the Bielsa way. I think he's got a little bit more work to do. But in terms of transfers, it's a bit like you guys. You can't spend 100 million here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. It's just not sustainable. And we're not. We don't have an endless checkbook. The likes of Man City signing Grealish. Villa probably running all the way to the bank with that, because it's just a steal. For Villa that, but. Yeah, I think a lot of Leeds fans on the whole are disappointed with the transfer market. But for me, I'm not too fussed, because this same bunch of players finished 9th last year.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. You did very well last year. You don't want to completely overhaul the squad that's done well last year. And even when you got promoted, you didn't completely overhaul the squad. So I don't see why you'd do it now. I think for us, I think we could definitely do with some more. There's still a lot of rumours. When's it shut? Is it Thursday? Or is it next Tuesday or something? I'm not sure exactly when it shuts. But we need to get some more over the line, definitely. We haven't, what, we've mentioned Chris Wood. we haven't actually signed a first team player to slot straight into the starting 11 since we bought Chris Wood from you boys.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah, like, obviously we've bought the likes of Brownhill, but he's been brought in as backup. Now he's getting in the first team.
Yeah.
And then we've bought the likes of Collins this season again as backup for Tarky and Ben Mee. Tarky's probably going to leave at the end of the season, so I think we'll have one eye on that one.
Yes.
But yeah, let's focus back on the match then, because you've mentioned you're expecting a Leeds win. You mentioned that you're going. I presume you're going to go on the bus, the train. How are you getting there, first of all?
I'm going to drive this
You're
time.
going to drive? Okay,
yeah, I'm
that's
going to
interesting.
drive over. And I'm looking, I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to a nice pie. I've been to Burnley away a few times to do cracking pies down at Turf Moor.
Yeah. Hollands they are.
That's it, yeah.
I don't know if you want to go for a pre-match pint as well, but your best bet is probably the cricket club. Away fans are always welcome there. Literally every club takes over the cricket club because it's next to the ground, and everybody just goes there. So if that's where you want to, I don't know where you'd park though. You probably have to pay for parking. I've never driven to the turf, so I wouldn't know.
Right, okay.
So that'd be interesting. That's why I thought you'd have got the train and walk down maybe. But But you've mentioned you're expecting a tough game, but you have mentioned you're expecting a Leeds win. How are you expecting the game to sort of pan out then?
I think Leeds will really come out and get going straight away. So there's going to be a lot of high press from Leeds. I'm expecting it to. It's going to be quite scrappy in the midfield area. I think Phillips as well, be really stuck into this. And I think it's a Yorkshire-Lancashire derby, this, isn't it? So it's going to be scrappy. And I can see Leeds scoring quite a few goals. I'm expecting Leeds to score a few. So I'm expecting to be a lot of goals from Leeds.
Honestly, yeah. If there's a lot of goals, we haven't really, scored many yet this season. Which is an understatement. But yeah, you mentioned the midfield. That's where I worry against Leeds. I think our midfield can be quite lightweight. I wouldn't be overly surprised if I saw Daesh put 3 in the midfield, but then he's obviously going to have to sacrifice somebody somewhere else, which would probably be someone up front with Chris Wood. And then if Chris Wood's on his own up front, you need your wingers to be on point and running and making the runs behind him. And I'm not really sure we've got 2 wingers to be able to do that at the minute. Dwight McNeely was brilliant against Liverpool, to be fair, but he was quite poor against Brighton. But he was poor defensively against Brighton, so it's interesting. I'm expecting it to be tight. I'm expecting I don't think there's going to be too many goals. I think we'll score a goal from a set piece, maybe in the first half. And then I think maybe when in the second half comes in and our fitness levels, get a bit... When we start blowing out our arse, basically, like we did against Liverpool and Brighton in the second half, I think you might capitalise on that. So I'm going to go for a 1-1. What's your prediction, mate?
For me, I think I think you will score from a set piece, and it'll be Chris Wood and it'll be Charlie Taylor to assist him. I think for me, I'm going to go heavy on this one. I'm going to go Leeds 4, Burnley 1.
Interesting. Well, fingers crossed you're wrong. Obviously, I'd take a. But like I said, the midfield does worry me. I would take a point at home against Leeds, which I think just goes to show sort of like how poor we've been recently. And again, that's not a reflection on Leeds, but I just think it just shows how teams like you are coming up and progressing and spending money and looking up the table. And it's kind of just when Villa come up as well, do the same thing. It's just knocking us down a little bit, and it's. I think we really need to start investing, basically. But yeah, that's pretty much it then, unless there's anything else you want to add. What I will say is thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And good luck for the rest of the season, just not this weekend and at Ellen Road again. And fingers crossed we can get some revenge because, like I said, you battered us at the turf last season. It wasn't a game I was overly bothered about, but I was getting quite frustrated watching it, I'm not going to lie. But the game at Ellen Road on Boxing Day, that were a disgrace. That referee ruined that game for me. There was nothing wrong with that goal. There was nothing wrong with that goal. I didn't have too many issues with your penalty, to be honest. I would argue that Poppy won the ball, but it was probably excessive force. So I don't really have any issues with that. But the goal that we scored, scandalous. Absolutely scandalous.
The thing is, though, you just enjoy it, and fans being back as well, it could be totally different. I think that will help Burnley as well. You've got a passionate fan base as well, haven't you, down there?
Yeah, well, obviously we all know Leeds travelling the numbers. We all know they probably are going to be quite loud as well. But enjoy your pints at the cricket club. Enjoy your pie at the turf. And thanks for coming on.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.